Hola, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to hear from my great friend Dan Baumann on how he learned Farsi and Swedish. So I've actually never talked to anybody that's learned Farsi as a second language. Thank you for being here, Dan.
Yeah, it's a fun part of my journey. I'm a typical American, and what I say with that, with language learning, is a typical American doesn't think they could learn a language.
It's true. It's true.
So yeah, we speak English, and we're just not good at learning languages. I had the privilege of growing up with my mom, who's from Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I grew up with her because she's my mom. We grew up in Los Angeles. And my dad was also fluent in Swedish. He's Swiss, but had learned Swedish. So they both spoke Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
I was the second child, and my mom basically only spoke Swedish with me until I was 4.
Okay.
And so because of that, without thinking, without any training, even today, I can still speak Swedish. So it's super fun. I don't even know how it happens. But yeah, I speak Swedish today, and my learning had zero effort. And just the thing of osmosis, this thing of it just comes into you, what just happened in my journey.
Wow. So you didn't study any more Swedish after those years?
No, I just was immersed in it, and immersed that long was enough.
Wow.
And it's how God made us.
Do you want to say something in Swedish to your Swedish friends?
Vad vill du att jag ska säga? Bara hälsa.
And what was that?
What do you want me to say? I just want to say hi.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
I'm not 100% in Swedish today, but I could definitely probably get by.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've never thought about learning it because I never thought about learning it.
Yeah.
It just happens to be there.
Yeah. And then you lived in Afghanistan for 10 years.
Yes, I lived there 10 years. They speak a dialect of the Iranian, Persian, Farsi language. It's called Dari. I went through a 4-month language course on arrival there. I went there specifically to work in administration of an eye hospital. In my time in language course, 8 hours a day for 4 months, at the end, my local Afghan teacher said to me, "You're the worst student I've ever had, and you'll never learn the language."
No.
Yes.
That is horrible.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, he has the gift of encouragement.
Right?
So I walked away, and I was pretty disheartened, thinking maybe I'll never learn. I tried, but I can't, so what to do? And very ironically, after that, over the period of the next 4 or 5 months, for different reasons, I actually had to leave the country. So there were many months where I wanted to jump in, even though I didn't know so much jump in, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
So when it finally came back, when I was back there full time and I could actually jump into my work, which was working at a hospital with Afghan staff and nurses. So it was in a sense immersion on the language.
Mm-hmm.
I had had many months of no practice, and before that, when I studied, I didn't do so well.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, I wasn't ready to be a language speaker, but I still didn't give up. So I just jumped in. I didn't mind laughing at myself. I didn't mind practicing a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't mind making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I went forward every day, practicing, trying, making mistakes, laughing at myself, not worrying about any sense of perfection, worrying what they think of me.
Yeah.
And that became a wonderful way to live and go forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I went forward probably slowly, but I went forward, and I went forward with a joyful heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was learning the language joyfully, but I had to laugh at myself, and I had to give it a lot of space. But it was about 6 months after that, I woke up one day and I had a dream in the Dari, or the Farsi language.
Wow.
So somehow, through throwing myself around the people, trying a lot, failing a lot didn't matter, making mistakes didn't matter, letting relationship be this tug on my heart to speak the language because I want to be with them as friends. I want to know my friends. I want to have real relationship. Really spurred me on to go through my insecurities, through my sense that I wasn't good at it, and keep trying. And because I kept trying over time, it started to come. And even today, years later, I still speak the Dari language. Have many, many friends where that's the way we engage is on the Dari language. And I'm so, so grateful that I didn't give up. Because if you don't quit, you're going to win. And if you don't quit trying to learn a language, you're going to get the language. Even if it takes a long time, even if it's not the perfect scenario. I didn't do well on my tests in school in the language. I didn't get immediate practice after I was done with my course. I had so many things against me, but I kept going and I kept dreaming of real relationships in their language and I kept trying, and today it's a part of my journey.
What would you like to say to your Afghani friends in Farsi?
چی میخوام برای شما بگویم؟ نام ما دنی هستم، بسیار خوش هستم که من شما هستم.
And what was that?
What do you want me to say to you? My name is Dan. I'm really glad to meet you and glad to be with you.
Wow, that's amazing. And how do you feel like knowing the Swedish language and knowing the Farsi language has changed your life personally?
I'm such a fan of learning language, not just because of the friendships I get with those languages, but I love the confidence that it rises inside of me. I'm a guy who thought he could never learn a language. Now, all of a sudden, I actually believe I could, and not just one, but two. So that raises confidence. You start to see confidence rise in one area of your heart, it usually can seep into the rest of your life. That you have confidence in who you are, that you can do okay. Not pride, but just a sense that you at least can accomplish or do what you set out to do. And that's really helped me. I love the friendships I have in those languages. But with that has come an excitement to travel. Like I can go to a country that speaks no language I know, but feels somewhat at home. Why? Because I hear other languages. Well, that's what I did when I learned these other two. I had to hear other languages. So it gives me joy and confidence in travel. They say that if you learn one language, it'll make the next easier. And I have many, many friends, including Camille, my friend, who has learned one and then begun a progression of many more languages. And so it's not impossible. The first one is probably the hardest, but once you tackle that, man, you get many languages, which means a building of confidence, excitement for who you are and your ability to go forward and having relationships around the world. And then not only having those relationships, but excitement to keep traveling and even possibly going after more languages. It's just a form of becoming friends, and that's such a treasure.
That's so good. You talked a lot about not giving up and going forward, and language learning is a journey of almost failing because you just mess up. It's how we learn the language. But how would you encourage somebody that has a hard time with messing up and they're afraid to speak because they're afraid of making mistakes?
Yeah, if you're afraid of making mistakes, well, welcome to the club or to the game. Like we're all there. So don't feel bad, you know? I felt bad making mistakes. Everyone does. We don't want to make mistakes. What gets us over that hump? What gets us over that hump to try, even if we know we could make a mistake, is that without trying, we might not get to learning the language. So it's really a sense of hope that, no, this is part of us, right? And it's the same with anything in life, right? You start to learn it. It might be at the beginning, you don't know why you're doing it. Why do you practice? It's because what happens at the end, like riding a bicycle. You start by riding a bike. If you took your first attempt at trying to ride a bike and thought, forget this, I can't do this. No, you try a second time and then a third. And it usually by 10, 20, 30 times, you're actually riding a bike. And then for the rest of your life, you have the joy of being able to ride a bike. So it's the same with language learning. And you got to get over that initial worry about making mistakes and failing. Keep going. Because one, you're going to be able to do it eventually, but two, you're going to miss out on relationships if you don't keep trying. And so that relationship tug in your heart that you want to have relationships through another language keeps you going. And if you keep going, you're not going to fail.
That's really good response. Do you have any language you're planning on learning next?
Wow. Obviously, I think I'd rather get more and more efficient in the ones that I do know. Like I said, Swedish and Dari I know, but over time you can lose a little bit. And you can forget a little bit. So I want to keep going after those.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I'm very, very interested in the Russian language and the German language and, you know, maybe even someday Spanish, I don't know. Other languages have had an interest in my life.
Yeah.
But there's no real sense of going for one right now. But I do know that if I did, I would start at a very much higher confidence level because I've already done it.
Yes.
I've already learned another language, so trying another one would be quite easy to engage in. So yeah, let's just do it. It's a beautiful part of life.
Yeah, that's really good. I appreciate your fresh take on language learning. Thank you so much for all that you've shared today.
Sure.
How are you guys learning a language? I always love to hear your tips. Comment below, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.